Hello YouTube. So it's been a few days since my last video. So much for vlogging every day in December, right? You know, life gets in the way and you miss a couple of days and then you get discouraged and it's hard to kind of get back on the horse. So here I am, giddying up. There are a few things that I wanted to address in this video, and I'm gonna tell you right now, it's gonna be a little bit of a bummer. So if you don't want to be bummed out, maybe this is not the best thing to watch right now. And if you're getting sick and tired of hearing about the shootings and the stabbings that have gone on recently this past week, again, maybe not the best video for you to watch. So, I mean, everybody has talked about this. There's everything that can be said has kind of been said, but I felt like I needed to say my piece as well. So exactly a week ago today, there was a shooting at the Clackamas Town Center Mall. I go to that mall frequently. I mean, at least once a week, sometimes more, but I mean, I'm there a lot. I wasn't there that day, thankfully. I mean, the mall is close enough to my house that the whole time this stuff was going on, I could hear the sirens. And I mean, I could hear all of it. All the sirens. I kind of blew it off at first when I first started hearing them because I didn't know what was going on yet. I just, you know, I mean, you hear sirens from time to time. People get hurt. People do stupid things and cops drive around and whatever. But then I just kept hearing them, and it sounded like there was more and more of them coming and going, and I mean, it didn't sound like they were doing anything in my immediate area, like they were just passing by, but there was so many of them. There's just dozens and dozens of these things I could hear. And I started to, like, what's going on? Am I missing something going on? I checked Facebook, and that's when I started to see the posts about the shooting at the mall, and I immediately freaked out. Like, I was immediately terrified because that's so close to home. I mean, and when I first started seeing the reports coming in, the shooter was still active as far as everyone knew. I mean, he hadn't been stopped yet. So it was really, really scary. I mean, I was instantly just petrified. And it was silly because, I mean, I'm far enough away that I wasn't in any danger. But, I mean, I know people that work at the mall. I don't know what their schedules are, so for all I knew, I had 6 or 8 friends at the mall right then, at that moment in time. I found out later that only one person that I knew was actually working at the mall that day, and she was in the Macy's that the shooter came in through. I mean, she works at that Macy's, so she was in that store. I think she said she was in the back somewhere, so she didn't see him. She heard the shots, but she wasn't in danger because he just went right through Macy's. He didn't stick around in there. Oh, and another friend of mine was I think she said she was just leaving as things were starting. I mean, she was leaving at like 3:15, and I think it started at like 3:15, 3:20, 3:30, somewhere in there. So she just missed it. But nobody else that I knew was there at the time, so that was good. And I didn't know any of the victims, which, I mean, that doesn't make it better that I didn't personally know them, but, you know, it is what it is. I felt a little bit better because it was nobody that I personally knew, but, I mean, there were still people's family members, loved ones, parents, maybe. I don't know if the 2 adults had children or not, but it was really, really scary. And, I mean, my mom was out. She, as far as I knew, was going to be shopping at the Target, which is across the street from the mall. I think that's where she said she was going. She was actually at a Walgreens across a different street from the mall, but I mean, she was right there. I tried to call her, and I couldn't call her because I thought that our phones had been disconnected at first because it was call failed. I couldn't connect it. I couldn't, except for my friends that have iPhones. Those are the only people that I could talk to. I was freaking out. I couldn't get a hold of my mom. I didn't know what was going on. For all I knew, I had been hearing that there were 2 shooters and that one of them had fled the building and was on foot somewhere. And of course that didn't end up being true, but I didn't know that at the time. I heard it and it made me scared. I was like, where's my mom? I can't get a hold of her. It turned out that my phone wasn't working because there was just this surge of cell phone calls going on at that time, and because of what was going on. And there was so much cell phone traffic that people couldn't make calls. I didn't even know that could happen. I didn't know you could overload, I guess, the cell phone towers. So that's what happened, and I wasn't able to get a hold of anybody for, I don't know, probably like an hour or two. My mom did come home quickly. I think I did actually end up getting a hold of her before she came home. And, everybody was fine. All my family members were calling and texting each other, and, are you there? Are you okay? And, everybody was fine. But it's just senseless. I mean, why? I don't understand what clicks in somebody's head. I've wanted to knock somebody's teeth out a few times, but you don't act on it. You don't do that. You don't kill complete strangers for no reason. I mean, maybe he had a reason, but I sure don't know what it is. And I sure can't think of one that's good enough to justify that. I mean, so that was the Clackamas Town Center shooting that happened. So that was really, really scary for me. That was not a very fantastic day. So I went to the mall on Sunday, and there are no signs that anything happened. There's nothing. I mean, there was a bit of damage. There was some broken glass. We have like these guardrails on the upper floor. There's a big hole in the middle of the floor, and you can look down and see the bottom floor. And that hole is lined with, guardrails and these really pretty glass wall things. And at least one of those that I know of, I saw the picture, at least one of those was shot and shattered. And that had been completely replaced. It didn't, when I got there on Sunday, it didn't look like anything had happened. I was really, really surprised at how packed the mall was so soon. I guess I expected people would be afraid and would stay away for a little bit longer, but I mean, it was legitimately, like, packed, full of people. I mean, so many people. Not an average day at the mall. And I think that's partially because it's so close to Christmas time, but given what just happened there, I mean, it was surprising for me to see so many people. But surprising in a good way. That means that people are working to move on and to honor the people that died. This was the coolest thing. Sorry, get a little tight in the throat area. So, when I got there, immediately coming in through the front doors, okay, when you first come into the front of the mall, there is the food court, and there's the theater, and then you can walk through the food court, and there's some escalators, and then there's the big hole with the guardrails that I mentioned. And that's where the two victims were, like right there. So, it was kind of uncomfortable for me to be standing where I knew, because they had showed a map of that section of the mall with just two dots where the two victims had fallen. And so, I mean, to be standing right there, I mean, to my knowledge, I have never been in a place where somebody has been murdered before. So, I mean, to be standing right there where it happened and where those people lost their lives, it was just, I mean, I don't even think there's a word for it. Surreal doesn't even kind of touch the feeling that you have. Like, you tighten up, and it's almost kind of paralyzing. At least that's how I felt. So they had these little tables set up where you could take a little star and write something on it, thoughts or prayers or just, whatever you wanted to write on it. and then you could hang it up on the glass or whatever on the guardrail right there where it happened. That's where everybody was hanging them up, along the guardrail, and I took some video of that while I was there. That was one terrible thing that happened this week. You know, we think, alright, that's a terrible thing that happened, but it's over and it's done with it, it's out of the way, and now all there is left is to grieve and to move on. And then Friday,